Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 29 of our favorite guitar riff masters of all time. We have been counting down all month our favorite 30 guitar players who delivered those crazy, memorable riffs, those face-melting riffs. You know how it goes, right? Doesn't matter the style of music. When one of the main things you remember about a song is that guitar riff that opens up the song and kind of repeats itself throughout the track, that's what we're kind of talking about here. And, these players should have done this many, many times throughout their careers. And we're not just talking about a guitar player who did it in one song and that was really it. Otherwise, you don't really think about guitars much in that band's repertoire, right? No, we're talking about these guitar players that consistently delivered these killer riffs time and time and time again that you always remember. Sometimes maybe even more than the vocal melody of the chorus, right? That's kind of what we're going for here. So, and we've been doing a good job all month long. I've seen lots of great picks in the comments. There's going to be a lot of great players, great riff masters that didn't make my cut of 30, but tomorrow you will get not only number 30, but you'll get all my honorable mentions as well. So, and there's so many more that I'm not even going to make them honorable mentions. I couldn't think of every single one because we'd be, sitting there talking about guitar players for hours on end. So, but today I had to include this guy. He's from one of my favorite bands of the last 25 years or so. And from the state of New Jersey. He is, not only is he a tremendous lead guitar player, he is one of the great riff masters of the modern era of progressive metal. I'm talking about Mr. Michael Romeo from Symphony X, right? Him on his Charvel Jackson guitar. I don't know, one of the two. I kind of forget which one he plays generally. But yeah, I mean, this guy, and this was tough picking out three because there's so many of them. Every Symphony X album is chock full of just face-melting riffarama. I mean, and the fact that this guy just consistently churns out these really, really memorable riffs that just destroy you as soon as the song opens, and then continually, repeats them throughout the song. And some song, I almost picked a couple tracks that have a selection of great, memorable riffs in one song, right? But I decided to go with a couple that I think just are really, really special to me. And then the guy gets to the solo, and it's just what? I remember talking to Michael Romeo here on the channel last year, and I was, kind of buttering up a little bit and telling him, man, some of the stuff he plays is just absolutely crazy and so complicated and whatnot. He goes, guitar playing is easy. And I'm like, yeah, for you maybe, right? It's crazy how some of these guys say that. But anyway, let's get on to my favorite riffs. So I had to pick at least one from the first album I ever heard from the band, which was their third album, The Divide Wings of Tragedy. And I'm going to go with Sea of Lies. Right? Awesome song. Right? Sea of Lies is one of their all-time great classic tracks. Just a great, speedy, progressive metal song with little bits of neoclassical thrown in, because their earlier albums have a little neoclassical flair to it, whereas I think they would kind of drop a bit of that as they kind of went on. But yeah, Sea of Lies, absolutely tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. And then I'm going to go with their next album, which is a little bit of a different one. I decided to go with this particular track because it's a bit different. It's not a real heavy riff, but it's just so good, so memorable, and so melodic. I'm going to go with Through the Looking Glass. It's a 3-part epic from Twilight in Olympus, their fourth album. Go check it out. I think it's a really, really, it's very proggy. It's very, very cool stuff. It's very epic sounding. Like I said, it's very melodic and kind of symphonic. Really, really intelligent riffing here in the beginning of this song. Very, very cool stuff. And again, it repeats itself throughout the song. And tell me if you hear a little bit of Kansas, because I know Michael Romeo is a big Kansas fan. And you can hear lots of Kansas influences on this album. Very, very good album. Still one of my favorite albums from the band. Very, very melodic. Lots of great catchy choruses. I mean, that's the thing with Symphony X. Michael Romeo is an amazing writer and arranger, and he fully knows how to utilize Russell Allen's vocal talents. And man, the songs deliver great riffs, great solos, great ensemble playing, lots of keyboards, and amazing choruses and vocal melodies. Just I've always been amazed at, like, from album to album to album, so many catchy hooks and things thrown into this very complicated, oftentimes heavy and very progressive music. Just love this band to death. They're just so good. And then finally, from my favorite Symphony X album, which is Paradise Lost, one of the more recent ones, I'm gonna go with Serpent's Kiss. Absolutely intense. I remember the first time I believe, if memory serves correctly, excuse me, that early. It's really early in the morning here today, and I have allergies, and I have what do you call it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. You don't need to hear about my allergies all day, right? I think the first track that they released, the first track they released from this album before it came out, this was in 2008, was Serpent's Kiss. And I remember seeing the video they put out for it, and I was just like, holy cow, I can't wait to hear this album, because that song just absolutely shreds. And it does. This is a really good album. So, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Serpent's Kiss from Paradise Lost. I'm going to go Through the Looking Glass from Twilight and Olympus. And I'm going to go with Seal Eyes from The Divine Wings of Tragedy. But, man, there's so, I wanted to pick some from Underworld. Iconoclast has so many great riffs. So does the fifth album, V, the Mythology Suite. I mean, so many great albums in this catalog, and I can't wait for another one. And, riffs aplenty. Michael Romeo from New Jersey, spectacular guitar player, and quite frankly, I didn't, George LeMay, if you're watching, I could have picked any number of riffs from his new solo album, which I didn't even think of that. I knew I had to have Michael Romeo in this list, and I automatically zoned in on picking Symphony X songs. But quite frankly, he had a solo album last year, the second, it's his third solo album actually, but the second of a two-part concept thing that's got crushing riffs all over that album. I didn't even think to go pick some from that. So George, if you're watching, maybe you want to pick one of those for year 3. I don't know. God, I didn't even think of that. So anyway, that is my pick for today. So if you are a fan of Michael Romeo, let us hear your 3 favorite riffs down in the comments below. But otherwise, who is your player for today? And what are your 3 favorite riffs? We got one day left. And then, each and every day during the month of May is I am going to count down. I'm going to count down my top 31 favorite hard rock and heavy metal albums of the 80s. An almost impossible task. Like I said, this was an idea from a viewer, and I was like, yeah, sure, I could tackle that. That'll be fun, right? Whatever. And then as I started to kind of amass my list and I'm just like, holy cow, how am I going to do this? So, and it's funny, I mentioned George before. He and I were texting back and forth yesterday, and he's like, did you figure out yet if you're going to only do like a maximum of 2 albums per band, for this list? And I'm like, I haven't decided yet, because there are just a couple of bands, there's really 3 in particular, that released at least 3, and a couple of them more, albums in the 80s that I absolutely adore. So it's like, how do I leave any of those out? So I haven't figured it out yet. I've got to figure it out today or tomorrow, because I got to put my list together. I have like an initial list, but the problem is with my initial list, I have like 2 or 3 from a couple of bands, more than a couple actually, and then I have some just sensational albums that I love to death that are left out of the list because of that. So I have to decide, am I okay with that, right? Or do I just go with 2 maximum per band and pull a couple of those out so I can make room for a few more? And that's going to really bother me, obviously. So, being me, right? Doing these damn listy things. Stephen Reed, if you're watching, I know you love doing this. I do too, but not when you have to. When you're picking from such a wide pool of greatness, and you have to narrow it down to just like 31, and you're like, I like Butch says it all the time. It's like, it pains me to leave stuff out. I'm pained right now. This is terrible, and I know I'm going to go through it again in June when I do my favorite 30 prog albums of the 70s. That's probably going to be just as bad. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm not, I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm going to work on it big time today. So, but you'll find out starting on Monday which direction I go with this. So as we'll start off with my number 31 on Monday, and we'll count our way down to my number 1. So anyway, thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we've got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations as well as our merch page. So thanks everybody for watching, and stay dry today if you're here in the Northeast. Raining up a storm, and we'll see you. What do we got coming up? So tomorrow, we've got not only the final of this particular series, right? My final Riff-Master. We've also got ranking the albums with Danzig. Myself and Chris Salo, we recorded the other night. Lots of fun. Tune into that and see what we think, how we rank the Danzig albums. And till then, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you real soon. Bye-bye.